I stood at the edge of the ballroom, champagne glass in hand, watching my daughter dance with her new husband. The crystal chandeliers cast soft light across the polished floor, and everything looked perfect. Too perfect, like a painting hiding rot beneath the canvas. "Dad, you look lost." Emily appeared at my elbow, her wedding dress rustling as she moved. 28 years old, and I still saw the little girl who used to climb into my lap with picture books. "Just taking it all in," I said, managing a smile. "You look beautiful, sweetheart." She kissed my cheek, and for a moment I wanted to believe everything was fine, that the last 6 months of suspicion and doubt were just paranoia, that my private investigator had gotten it wrong. But I knew better. "Dad, I need to talk to you later," Emily said, her voice dropping. "About the business." My gut tightened. "Sure. Tomorrow? Tonight? After the reception?" She glanced toward her new husband, Derek, who was laughing with his groomsmen near the bar. "It's important." She walked away before I could respond, leaving me with the bitter taste of champagne and dread. I'd built Hammond Auto Sales from nothing. Started with a single used car lot 30 years ago and turned it into the biggest dealership network in 3 counties. And now my own daughter was helping her husband steal it from me. The investigator's report sat in my hotel room safe. Bank statements, emails, text messages, evidence of embezzlement stretching back 18 months. Small amounts at first, easy to miss, then larger sums as they got bolder. My former business partner, Glen was in on it too, the man I'd trusted for 20 years. "You okay, hun?" My wife, Margaret, touched my arm. She'd worn a navy dress tonight, elegant and understated. After 32 years of marriage, she could read me like a book. "Fine," I lied. "No, you're not." She kept her voice low. "But we'll talk later. Not here." Margaret knew. I'd told her everything 2 weeks ago, showed her the report. She'd gone pale, then angry, then cold. That calculating look I'd seen when she negotiated contracts or dealt with problem employees. She had her own plans, I suspected. My wife was brilliant, always 3 steps ahead. "Ladies and gentlemen," the DJ's voice boomed through the speakers, "please welcome the father of the bride for his toast." Everyone turned toward me. 200 faces, most of them strangers. Derek's family, his business associates, people I'd never met. I walked to the microphone, my dress shoes clicking on the hardwood. Emily smiled at me from the head table. Derek's expression was harder to read. Confident. Smug, maybe. I raised my glass. "When Emily was 5 years old," I began, "she asked me what I did for work. I told her I sold cars. She looked at me very seriously and said, 'Daddy, why don't you just give them away? Then everyone would be happy.'" Light laughter rippled through the crowd. I tried to explain profit margins and overhead costs, but she just shook her head. "That's silly," she said. "Being nice is more important than money." I paused, looking directly at my daughter. "I wonder when that changed." The room went quiet. Emily's smile faltered. "But tonight isn't about business," I continued, smoothing it over. "Tonight is about love, about trust, about family." I let each word hang in the air. "So here's to Emily and Derek. May you always remember what's truly important." I drained my glass and walked back to my table. Margaret squeezed my hand. "Subtle," she whispered. "Just warming up." The reception continued. Dinner was served, speeches were made, cake was cut. I played the role of proud father while my mind worked through scenarios and contingencies. The investigator had given me more than just evidence of theft. He'd uncovered Derek's entire plan. They were going to force me out, use the embezzled funds to manufacture a crisis, make it look like mismanagement on my part. Glen would push for my removal from the board. Emily would inherit my shares, and with Derek pulling the strings, they'd control everything. It was elegant, really, ruthless and efficient. Around 9 o'clock, Derek approached my table. He'd loosened his tie and had that particular swagger that comes from too much whiskey and too much ego. "Having a good time, Frank?" He said my name like it tasted bad. "Wonderful wedding. You must have spent a fortune." "Emily deserves the best." He leaned closer. "Unlike some people, I know how to provide for my wife." Margaret's grip on my hand tightened, but I kept my voice level. "Is that right?" "That's right. Maybe it's time you stepped aside, old man. Let people who know what they're doing run things." "Derek, honey, come dance," Emily called from across the room, her voice bright but strained. He winked at me. "We'll talk later, you, me, and Emily, about your future. Or lack of one." He walked away, and I watched him go with the same feeling I got when I spotted rust on a used car frame. Surface problem. Deep corruption. "Frank," Margaret's voice was tight, "please tell me you're not going to do anything stupid." Define stupid. Punching your son-in-law at his own wedding. That would be stupid, I agreed. I've got better ideas. The next hour dragged. I shook hands, accepted congratulations, and smiled until my face hurt. Around 10:30, I stepped outside for air. The country club terrace overlooked the golf course, and the night was cool and clear. I was alone for maybe 3 minutes before I heard the door open behind me. "You should leave." I turned. Glen Richter stood there, hands in his pockets. My former partner looked older than I remembered. Gray hair, deep lines around his eyes. 20 years of friendship, and I barely recognized him. "Why would I do that, Glen?" "Because you're embarrassing yourself. Everyone can see you're bitter about Emily moving on." "Moving on? Is that what we're calling it?" He stepped closer. "Frank, you're not thinking clearly. The business is changing. You can't keep up. It's time to let go." "Let go of what's mine." "Nothing's really yours. It's all temporary. You should know that by now." I studied his face, looking for some trace of the man I'd known. The guy who'd helped me move into my first house, who'd been best man at my wedding, who'd held Emily when she was born. Nothing, just cold calculation. "You're right," I said. "Nothing's permanent, especially loyalty, apparently. Don't be dramatic. This is just business." "Is that what you tell yourself at night?" He shrugged. "Believe what you want, but if you make waves, you'll lose everything. Think about Margaret. Think about your reputation." "I think about a lot of things. Mostly I think about how long you've been stealing from me." His expression didn't change, but his eyes flickered. Just for a second. "Careful, Frank. Accusations like that can get messy. So can embezzlement charges." We stared at each other. Finally, Glen smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Good luck proving anything. You always were paranoid." He turned to go, then stopped. "Oh, and Frank? You're only here to mooch off your daughter's success. Everyone knows it best if you just left quietly." The door closed behind him. I stood there, hands gripping the terrace railing, breathing slowly. My phone buzzed. A text from Emily. "Dad, we need to talk. Now. Meet me in the bridal suite." I started toward the door, then felt a hand on my shoulder. "Pretend you're with me." I turned. An old man stood there, maybe 70, wearing an expensive suit that had seen better days. His face was weathered but sharp, and his eyes held that particular gleam of someone who'd seen everything twice. "Excuse me?" "Just walk with me. Act natural. They're watching from the window." I glanced back. Sure enough, Emily and Derek stood in the ballroom, looking our way. "Who are you?" "Someone who knows what they did to you, and someone who can help you make them regret it." He extended his hand. "Name's Arthur Brennan. Let's take a walk." I should have gone inside, should have met Emily as requested. But something in the old man's voice stopped me. "What do you know about my situation?" "Everything. I know Derek's been embezzling from your dealerships. I know Glen Richter's been cooking the books. I know they're planning to force you out within the month." He smiled. And I know how to destroy them. Why would you help me? Because 30 years ago, you helped my son get his first job. Gave him a chance when nobody else would. He worked at your original lot, remember? Tommy Brennan? The name clicked. Tommy had been a good kid, eager to learn. I'd taught him sales and he'd done well. I remember. How is Tommy? Car accident 5 years ago. Arthur's voice was flat. But before he died, he told me you were the only boss who ever treated him like family. So I've been keeping an eye on you. And lately, I've been keeping an eye on the people trying to destroy you. Even if I believed you, what could you possibly do? Arthur pulled out his phone and showed me a photograph. Derek and Glen, sitting in a restaurant booth, papers spread between them. I recognized some of those papers. Financial statements from my business. When was this taken? 3 weeks ago. I've got dozens more, videos too, audio recordings of their conversations. He pocketed the phone. I've been building a case. All I needed was the right moment to use it. Why wait? Why not just go to the police? Because that wouldn't hurt them enough. Police investigation takes time. Lawyers, courts, appeals. They'd drag it out for years. Probably cut deals. Maybe serve a few months at most. His smile was cold. But if you want real revenge, if you want to take everything from them the way they plan to take everything from you, that requires a different approach. My heart was pounding. What kind of approach? The kind that leaves them broken and humiliated. The kind where they lose not just money, but reputation, relationships, future prospects. Everything. That's not legal. Neither is embezzlement. But I'm not suggesting we break any laws. Just bend them a little. Use information strategically. Apply pressure in the right places. He looked at me steadily. Your daughter betrayed you. Your business partner betrayed you. Your son-in-law is a snake who married Emily just to get access to your money. Are you really going to let them win? I thought about Emily's face when she'd asked to talk. The cold calculation behind her eyes. Derek's smug confidence. Glen's casual dismissal of 20 years of friendship. No, I said quietly. I'm not. Good. Then listen carefully. We walked along the terrace, Arthur talking in a low voice. He laid out a plan that was brilliant and ruthless in equal measure. He had evidence I didn't know existed, connections I couldn't imagine, and most importantly, he had nothing to lose. Why are you really doing this? I asked when he finished. Because they're predators. Because they think they're clever. Because nobody else will stop them. He met my eyes. And because Tommy always said you deserved better than what life gave you. This is me making sure you get it. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Emily, more insistent this time. I need to think about this, I said. No, you don't. You've already decided. I can see it in your eyes. Arthur handed me a business card. Call me tomorrow. We'll set everything in motion. What if I don't call? Then they win. They take your business, your legacy, everything you built, and they laugh about it, your choice. He walked away, disappearing into the darkness beyond the terrace lights. I stood there holding his card, feeling the weight of the decision ahead. Through the ballroom windows, I could see Emily and Derek dancing again, spinning in circles that looked graceful from a distance, but were really just endless repetition. My phone rang. Emily. Dad? Where are you? We're waiting. On my way. I walked back inside, past the happy guests and the elaborate decorations and the remains of the expensive dinner. Emily and Derek were in the bridal suite, along with Glen. All three of them looked at me as I entered. Close the door, Dad. I did. Emily sat on the edge of the bed, still in her wedding dress. Derek stood behind her, one hand on her shoulder. Glen leaned against the wall, arms crossed. We need to discuss your retirement, Emily said. Not, we should talk about the business. Not, let's figure out the future together. I'm 56, little early for retirement. You're tired, Dad. Everyone can see it. The business has been struggling, and you're not keeping up with changes in the market. She pulled out a folder. We've prepared a buyout package. Very generous. You'll be comfortable. I took the folder and flipped through it. The numbers were insulting, maybe a third of what my shares were worth. This is generous? Given the current state of the company, yes. Derek spoke up. We're being more than fair. We? Emily and I are partners now, in everything. His hand squeezed her shoulder possessively. Glen agrees this is the best path forward. I looked at Glen. You agree? The business needs new direction, Frank. I'm sorry, but it's true. New direction. Is that code for under new ownership? Emily stood up. Dad, don't make this difficult. You've had a great run. Time to enjoy your retirement. And if I refuse? Derek smiled. Then we'll have to take other measures. Shareholder votes, board decisions. It'll get messy and expensive. This way is cleaner. Better for everyone. Better for you. Better for the business, Emily said. Please, Dad, just sign the papers. I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. When had she become this person? When had she learned to lie so smoothly? Or had she always been this way, and I'd just refused to see it? I need time to think. You have until Monday, Derek said. After that, we move forward with or without your cooperation. 3 days. 3 days. Don't waste them. I walked out without another word. Margaret was waiting in the hallway, and one look at my face told her everything. That bad? Worse. We drove back to the hotel in silence. In our room, I pulled Arthur's card from my pocket and stared at it. What's that? Margaret asked. I told her about the old man, about his offer, about the plan he'd outlined. She listened without interrupting, then said, Do it. Margaret, do it. They want to take everything. We'll take everything first, and we'll make sure they never see it coming. She kissed me, fierce and determined, and I knew she meant every word. I called Arthur Brennan at midnight. I'm in. Good. Meet me tomorrow at 10. I'll text you the address. And Frank? Don't tell anyone. Not even Margaret. I already told her. A pause. Can she keep quiet? Better than I can. Then bring her. She might have insights we need. He hung up. I lay in bed next to my wife, staring at the ceiling, and thought about everything I was about to do, everything I was about to destroy. By Monday morning, my daughter and her husband would wish they'd never crossed me. By Monday morning, Glen Richter would understand what real betrayal felt like. By Monday morning, I would have burned everything to the ground. The thought should have scared me. Instead, it felt like relief. While you're here, hit the hype button, don't forget to subscribe, and support this channel with a like. And tell us below, have you ever faced something like this? The address Arthur had texted led to a small office building on the edge of town. 3rd floor, suite 304. No sign on the door. I knocked twice, and Arthur opened it immediately, like he'd been waiting right there. Come in. Quickly. The office was sparse. A desk, 2 chairs, a filing cabinet, and a laptop. The walls were bare except for a single photograph of a young man in a Navy uniform. Tommy, I assumed. Margaret and I sat down. Arthur remained standing, pacing slightly. Before we start, I need to be clear about something. What I'm proposing isn't strictly legal. It's not illegal either, but it lives in that gray area where clever people operate. He looked at us both. If you're not comfortable with that, leave now. We're staying, Margaret said. Good. Then let's talk about what Derek and Glen don't know. He opened his laptop and turned it toward us. The screen showed a complex web of financial transactions, color-coded and annotated. Derek's been embezzling for 18 months, but he got sloppy 6 months ago. Started using the money for personal expenses. Gambling, mostly. He's into some very unpleasant people for about $200,000. Jesus, I muttered. Gets better. Glen's been embezzling even longer, almost 3 years. But he's been smarter about it. Offshore accounts, shell companies, the whole setup, except he made one mistake. Arthur zoomed in on a particular transaction. He used the same law firm that handled his divorce, and that law firm has a paralegal who happens to be my niece. Margaret leaned forward. You're saying you have access to his financial records? Copies. Not admissible in court, but very useful for our purposes. How did you get all this? Tommy wasn't my only kid. I have 2 daughters and another son. They've all done well for themselves. One's a forensic accountant, one's a private investigator, one's a lawyer. When I told them what was happening to you, they offered to help. Why? I asked. You barely know me. Arthur closed the laptop. Because Tommy loved you. Because you gave him dignity when he needed it most. Because my family takes care of its debts. He sat down. And because I'm old and bored and this gives me something to do besides wait to die. The bluntness of it was almost funny. So what's the plan? Margaret asked. We use Derek's gambling debts against him. Those people he owes money to, they're not patient. If they suddenly learned Derek was about to come into a lot of money through his marriage to Emily, they'd move on him fast, probably scare him into doing something stupid. Like what? Like stealing more money, like panicking, like making mistakes that expose the whole operation. I shook my head. That doesn't solve the problem. Derek panics, maybe goes to the police, cuts a deal. We still lose. Not if we control the narrative, not if we have evidence ready to go at exactly the right moment, not if we time everything perfectly so that when Derek falls, he takes Glen and Emily down with him. Margaret's eyes narrowed. You want to destroy Emily too? She betrayed you, Arthur said simply. She chose her side. If you want to protect her, that's your choice, but she won't thank you for it. She'll just find another way to take what she wants. I thought about Emily's face last night. The cold calculation, the practiced sympathy. What would happen to her? I asked. Legally? Probably nothing if we play it right. She can claim ignorance, say Derek manipulated her. But socially, professionally, she'd be done. No one would trust her. No one would want to do business with her. She'd lose everything except her freedom. And Derek? Derek goes to prison. So does Glen. Fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy. We have enough evidence to bury them both. Margaret reached over and took my hand. Frank, you need to decide if you can live with that. If you can look at your daughter and know you destroyed her life. Could I? I'd been asking myself that question since last night. Tell me the rest of the plan first. Arthur smiled. Smart man. Okay, here's how it works. He laid it out over the next hour. It was elaborate and cruel and absolutely brilliant. We would leak information to Derek's creditors, but make it look like it came from Glen. Derek would panic and accelerate his embezzlement to pay them off. We would document everything, building an airtight case. Then, at exactly the right moment, we would reveal it all to the board, to the banks, to the authorities. But the real genius was in the timing. We would wait until Derek and Emily had secured control of the company, until they thought they'd won, until they'd committed themselves completely. Then we'd pull the rug out. They'll have legal liability as the new controlling shareholders, Arthur explained. The embezzlement will have happened on their watch, technically speaking. Even if Emily claims ignorance, she'll be associated with it forever. And Derek? He'll have nowhere to hide. What about Glen? Glen's the easiest. He's been stealing for years and he's been sloppy about covering his tracks. Once we start pulling threads, the whole thing unravels. He loses his license, his reputation, probably his freedom. And me? What happens to my business? You buy it back, at a discount, because once the fraud is exposed, the share value drops. You swoop in, reclaim control, clean house. You end up stronger than before. It was perfect. It was vicious. It was exactly what they deserved. When do we start? I asked. We already have. This morning, Derek's creditors received an anonymous tip about his upcoming windfall. By tomorrow, they'll be pressuring him for immediate payment. By next week, he'll be desperate. That's when things get interesting. Margaret stood up and walked to the window. This is really happening. Only if you want it to, Arthur said. You can still walk away, sign their buyout papers, take the money, retire. Like hell, I said. Arthur nodded. Then let's get to work. We spent the rest of Sunday planning. Arthur had contacts everywhere, people who owed him favors, people who shared his particular moral flexibility. By the time we left that evening, I had a clear picture of the next 3 weeks. Week 1, Derek panics and steals more money. Week 2, Glen tries to cover their tracks and makes critical mistakes. Week 3, everything collapses. It was like watching a demolition in reverse. We were carefully placing charges, running detonation wires, preparing for one massive explosion. Monday morning, I went into the office like nothing had changed. My secretary, Linda, looked surprised to see me. Frank? I thought you'd be taking the week off after the wedding. Too much work to do. Is Glen in yet? Conference room, with Emily and Derek. Of course they were. I walked past my office to the conference room and opened the door without knocking. All 3 of them looked up, startled. Morning, I said cheerfully. Thought I'd sit in on whatever meeting you're having about my company. Glen recovered first. Frank, we weren't expecting you. I know. That's why I'm here. I sat down at the head of the table. So what are we discussing? My forced retirement, how to split up my assets, where to send the thank you cards. Emily's face flushed. Dad, that's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? I leaned forward. I built this company from nothing. I worked 80-hour weeks. I missed soccer games and school plays. I sacrificed everything to give you a future, and this is how you repay me? The business is failing, Derek said. You're running it into the ground. Am I? Or are you stealing enough money that it just looks that way? What are you talking about? Glen asked carefully. I'm talking about embezzlement. I'm talking about fraud. I'm talking about the 2 of you systematically looting my company for the last 2 years. That's ridiculous, Emily said, but her voice wavered. Is it? Should we call in the accountants? Do a full audit? See what they find? Derek stood up. You're paranoid, old man, seeing conspiracies where there's just natural market changes. Then you won't mind the audit. We're not doing an audit, Glen said firmly. It's expensive and disruptive, and it's not necessary. It is if I say it is. I'm still the majority shareholder. For now, Derek said quietly. There it was. The threat laid bare. Meaning what? Meaning you have until Wednesday to sign the retirement package. After that, we take this to the board, force a vote. You'll lose, Frank, and it won't be pretty. I stood up slowly. You know what? Let's do it. Call the board meeting. Let's see how it plays out. Dad, please, Emily said. Don't make this ugly. I'm not the one making it ugly, sweetheart. You are. I walked out, leaving them sitting there in shock. In the hallway, I pulled out my phone and texted Arthur, Phase 1 complete. They're panicking. His response came immediately. Good. Stay calm. Let them make mistakes. The rest of Monday was a blur of work and waiting. I reviewed actual business operations, met with department heads, checked inventory levels. The company was doing fine. Better than fine, actually. Sales were up. Profits were healthy. The only problem was the systematic theft bleeding money from the accounts. Around 3, Linda knocked on my door. Frank, there's someone here to see you. Says it's urgent. Who? Won't give a name. Says you'll want to hear what he has to say. I had a bad feeling. Send him in. The man who entered was large and uncomfortable looking in a cheap suit. He had the kind of face that had seen too many fights and not enough dentists. Mr. Hammond, name's Vincent. I work for some people who have a financial interest in your son-in-law. Derek owes you money. Smart man? Yeah, he does. Quite a bit. And we hear he's about to come into a large inheritance. We'd like to accelerate the payment schedule. Derek didn't inherit anything. He married my daughter. Same thing, according to him. Said the business would be his within the month. Did he now? Vincent leaned against the doorframe. Look, I don't care about family drama. I care about getting paid. You seem like a reasonable guy. Maybe you could talk to Derek, explain the situation. The situation being that if he doesn't pay, you'll hurt him? I prefer apply pressure. But yeah, basically. I should have been scared, should have called security or the police, but instead, I saw opportunity. What if I told you Derek's been stealing from me to pay off his debts? Vincent's eyebrows went up. Has he? And what if I told you I'm about to expose that theft in a very public way? Then I'd say Derek's in a lot of trouble. Right. So here's what I propose. Give him 2 weeks. Let him scramble and panic and make mistakes. Then, when everything comes crashing down, you'll be first in line as a creditor. You might not get all your money, but you'll get something. Vincent thought about it. What's in it for you? The satisfaction of watching Derek destroy himself. A slow smile spread across Vincent's face. You're a cold bastard, Mr. Hammond. I like it. 2 weeks, but if nothing happens, we go to Plan B. Fair enough. He left, and I sat there feeling simultaneously proud and disgusted with myself. I'd just made a deal with a loan shark to terrorize my son-in-law. My phone rang. Emily. Dad, Derek just got a call from some very angry people. Do you know anything about that? Why would I? Because they mentioned you, said you'd explain things to Derek. Emily, Derek's gambling problem is not my responsibility. Gambling problem? What are you talking about? I closed my eyes. She really didn't know. Derek had kept that from her. Ask your husband about the $200,000 he owes to some very unpleasant people. Ask him where he got the money to pay them back. Then ask yourself if that money might have come from the business he's been embezzling from. Silence on the line. Emily, still there? You're lying. Am I? Or are you just figuring out that you married a con artist? She hung up. I called Arthur. Derek's creditors just paid me a visit. I bought us 2 weeks. Excellent. That's exactly what we needed. Derek will be frantic now. He'll make mistakes. Emily's starting to question things. Good. Let her doubt. Let her see Derek for what he really is. It'll make the ending more satisfying. Arthur, I'm not sure I can go through with this. Emily's my daughter. She was going to destroy you. She chose Derek over you. She chose money over family. His voice softened. I know it hurts. But sometimes the people we love betray us. And when they do, we have to protect ourselves. Even if it means destroying them? Especially then. I hung up and stared at my office walls. Photos of Emily at various ages. Her graduation, her first day of college, her acceptance into business school. When had I lost her? Or had she always been this person, and I just refused to see it? Tuesday morning brought chaos. Derek showed up at my office before 8, looking like he hadn't slept. We need to talk. Do we? Those people who came to see you. What did you tell them? The truth. That you're a thief and a liar. That you've been stealing from me to cover your gambling debts. That your entire plan to take over my company is built on fraud. Derek's face went pale. You can't prove any of that. Can I? Should we find out? He sat down hard in one of my guest chairs. Frank, you don't understand. Then you should have thought of that before you started stealing from me. I didn't steal anything. Glen handled all the finances. So you're saying Glen stole the money? Derek's eyes flickered. He was weighing his options, trying to figure out how to save himself. I'm saying I don't know where the money went, but if there's a problem, Glen's the one who would know about it. So you're throwing Glen under the bus? I'm telling you the truth. The truth is you're both thieves. The truth is you married my daughter to get access to my business. The truth is I'm going to make sure you lose everything. Derek stood up, his fear turning to anger. You arrogant old man. You think you're so smart? You think you can stop this? We already have the votes. We already have control. You're finished. We'll see. He stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the walls. Linda poked her head in. Everything okay? Perfect. Just my son-in-law having a temper tantrum. The rest of Tuesday was quieter. I worked through paperwork, made calls, prepared for what was coming. Around 2, Margaret called. How are you holding up? I just threatened my son-in-law and made a deal with a loan shark. I'm doing great. Frank, I know, this is insane, but I can't stop now. I have to see it through. Then see it through, but don't lose yourself in the process. Too late for that. No, it's not. You're a good man, Frank. You're angry and hurt, but you're still good. Don't let them change that. They already have. Then change it back, after this is over, after you've won. Find your way back to being the man I married. I promised I would, but I wasn't sure I believed it. Wednesday morning, Emily came to my office, alone. She looked exhausted, and I wondered if she and Derek had been fighting. Dad, we need to talk. Really talk. Okay. She closed the door and sat down. For a long moment, she just stared at her hands. Derek has a gambling problem. I know. You knew? Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me? Or would you have thought I was just trying to sabotage your marriage? She didn't answer, which was answer enough. He's been stealing, hasn't he? She asked quietly. From the business? Yes. For how long? At least 18 months. Maybe longer. And Glen? Glen's been stealing even longer. Emily's face crumpled. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Didn't you? Or did you just not want to know? That's not fair. Fair? You were going to force me out of my own company. You were going to take everything I built, and you're talking about fair? Derek said we were saving it. He said you were running it into the ground, that we needed to take action before it was too late. And you believed him? He's my husband. He's a con artist. He married you for your inheritance. Everything else was just a performance. She started crying. Real tears, not the calculated kind. I wanted to comfort her, to tell her everything would be okay. But I couldn't. Because it wouldn't be okay. Not after what was coming. What do I do? She asked. You divorce him. You cooperate with the investigation. You testify against him and Glen. And maybe you avoid prison yourself. Prison? Dad, I didn't do anything wrong. You were going to force me into retirement based on false financial data. You were going to take control of a company that was being systematically looted. At best, you're complicit. At worst, you're an accessory. I didn't know. Prove it. She looked at me with something like hate, and I felt the last connection between us snap. You want me to betray my husband. I want you to tell the truth. There's a difference. Is there? Or are you just using this as an excuse to destroy everyone who stood up to you? Emily, I built this company for you. Everything I did was for you, and you repaid me by plotting to steal it. So yes, I'm destroying the people who betrayed me, because that's what they deserve. She stood up. Then I guess we're done here. Yeah, I guess we are. She walked out, and I sat there feeling hollow. Arthur had been right. Sometimes the people we love betray us, and when they do, we have to let them go. My phone buzzed. A text from Arthur. Board meeting scheduled for Friday. That's when they'll make their move. Are you ready? I texted back. Ready. 2 more days. 2 more days until everything I'd been planning came to fruition. 2 more days until I burned it all down. I went home that night and told Margaret what had happened with Emily. She chose Derek, I said, even knowing what he is. She's scared. She's confused. She doesn't know who to trust. She should trust her father. You're also the person who's threatening to destroy her life. I'm trying to save her from a con artist. Are you? Or are you punishing her for betraying you? I didn't have a good answer for that. Thursday was the calm before the storm. Derek and Glen kept their distance. Emily didn't come to the office at all. I worked through normal business, preparing for the board meeting, making sure everything was in order. Arthur called around noon. Derek made a large withdrawal from the business account this morning, $150,000. To pay off his debts? Probably, which means he's desperate, which means he's exactly where we want him. And Glen? Glen's been meeting with lawyers. He knows something's wrong, but he can't figure out what. He's trying to protect himself, but he's making it worse. How much longer? Tomorrow. Board meeting's at 10. That's when we drop the hammer. What exactly happens? You call for a full financial audit. You present preliminary evidence of embezzlement. You demand Derek and Glen's immediate resignation. They'll fight it, but the other board members will panic. They'll want to protect themselves. They'll vote with you. And Emily? Emily will have to choose. Support her husband and go down with him, or cut ties and save herself. She'll choose him. Maybe. Or maybe she'll surprise you. I hung up and finished preparing for the meeting. I had all the evidence organized, all the arguments ready. Tomorrow morning I would destroy everyone who had betrayed me. Tomorrow morning I would win. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Emily as a little girl. The way she'd laugh when I pushed her on the swing. The way she'd run to greet me when I came home from work. The way she'd looked at me like I was a hero. When had that changed? When had I become the enemy? Or had I always been one and just hadn't noticed? Friday morning arrived with cold rain and gray skies, which felt appropriate. I dressed carefully in my best suit, the navy one Margaret had bought me for our 30th anniversary. If this was going to be an execution, I might as well look good for it. Margaret kissed me at the door. You're doing the right thing. Am I? They left you no choice. Remember that. I drove to the office through heavy traffic, my mind running through the plan again and again. Arthur had sent me a final text at 6 that morning. Everything's ready. Trust the process. Trust the process. Like I was coaching Little League instead of destroying my family. The parking lot was already half full when I arrived at 9. The board meeting wasn't until 10, but people were arriving early. Nervous energy. I could feel it even from my car. Linda met me at my office door. Frank, Glen's been looking for you. He seems agitated. I bet he is. Tell him I'll see him at the meeting. He said it was urgent. Everything's urgent with Glen these days. I went into my office and locked the door, opened my laptop and reviewed the evidence one last time. Bank statements showing irregular transfers, emails between Derek and Glen discussing how to hide the embezzlement, photos of documents, audio recordings. Arthur had been thorough, devastatingly thorough. At 9:45, I gathered my materials and headed to the conference room. The board members were already there, 7 of them, not counting me and Glen. They looked uncomfortable, shooting glances at each other. Glen sat at the far end of the table, Derek beside him. Emily was there too, sitting slightly apart from both of them. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I took my seat at the head of the table. Thank you all for coming. Let's just get this over with, Glen said. We all know why we're here, Frank's retirement package. Actually, that's not what we're here to discuss. Glen's eyes narrowed. What? We're here to discuss fraud, embezzlement, and the systematic looting of this company by you and Derek. The room went silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Derek leaned forward. That's a serious accusation, Frank. It's a serious crime, Derek. You have proof? One of the board members asked. Tom Sullivan, the company lawyer. I opened my folder and began distributing documents. Bank records showing unauthorized transfers, emails discussing how to hide the stolen funds, witness statements, audio recordings, all of it documenting a pattern of theft stretching back at least 2 years. Glen grabbed his copy and scanned it quickly. His face went pale. This is falsified. Someone's setting us up. Really? These are your emails, Glen. your signature on the transfer authorizations, your voice on the recordings. Then they're doctored. This is a desperate attempt by Frank to avoid retirement. Is it? I turned to Tom. I'd like to recommend an immediate forensic audit of all company accounts, and I'd like to recommend we put both Glen and Derek on administrative leave pending the results. That's ridiculous, Derek said, but his voice cracked. Tom was reading through the documents, his expression growing darker. Frank, where did you get these? From a private investigator. I've suspected problems for months. Finally decided to confirm it. You hired a PI to spy on us? Glen stood up. That's illegal. This evidence is inadmissible. In a criminal trial, maybe. But this isn't a criminal trial. This is a board meeting. And right now, I'm asking this board to protect the company from further theft. Emily finally spoke. Dad, you don't know what you're doing. This will destroy everything. No, sweetheart. What Derek and Glen did destroyed everything. I'm just making sure everyone knows it. Another board member, Patricia Chen, raised her hand. I'd like to hear from Glen and Derek. What's your response to these allegations? Glen took a breath, visibly composing himself. Frank is having some kind of breakdown. The business has been struggling because of his poor decisions, not because of any theft. These documents are either fake or taken out of context. Context, I said. Okay, let's provide some context. I pulled out my laptop and turned it toward the board. This is an audio recording from 3 weeks ago. Derek and Glen discussing how to accelerate their plan to force me out. I hit play. Derek's voice came through the speakers, tinny but clear. We need to move faster. Frank's getting suspicious. Glen's response. We'll push the retirement package harder. Make it look generous. He'll sign just to avoid the fight. And if he doesn't? Then we force a board vote. We have the numbers. Patricia and Tom will vote with us. We just need one more. What about the money we moved? Untraceable. By the time anyone figures it out, we'll be in control. We can cover our tracks. I stopped the recording. Patricia was staring at Glen with something close to horror. You told me Frank was voluntarily retiring. You said this was his idea. Patricia, I can explain. You used me. You manipulated me into supporting this. Tom was reading through the documents again, making notes. Frank, I need to review all of this in detail, but preliminarily this looks very bad for Glen and Derek. It is bad, I said. They've stolen at least $3 million from this company, probably more. A full audit will show the exact amount. $3 million? Emily whispered. Derek, is that true? Derek didn't answer. He was staring at the table, his jaw clenched. Derek? Emily's voice rose. Is it true? It's complicated, he finally said. Complicated? You stole $3 million and it's complicated? I was protecting our future. Your father was running this business into the ground. I had to take action. By stealing? By ensuring we'd have something left when his mismanagement destroyed everything else. Emily stood up, her chair scraping loudly. I can't believe this. I defended you. I stood by you, and you were stealing the whole time? Emily, please. No. Don't talk to me. Don't even look at me. She walked out, slamming the door behind her. The board members were talking among themselves now, urgent whispers. Glen was on his phone, probably calling his lawyer. Derek just sat there, looking defeated. I let them process for a minute, then cleared my throat. I'm proposing an immediate vote. 1. Authorize a full forensic audit. 2. Place Glen Richter and Derek Hammond on immediate unpaid leave. 3. Refer this matter to local law enforcement for criminal investigation. All in favor? 6 hands went up. Only Glen abstained. Motion carries. Glen, Derek, you're both suspended effective immediately. You'll need to turn in your building access cards and any company property. Tom will coordinate with HR on the details. Glen stood up slowly. You'll regret this, Frank. I'll fight this. I'll sue. I'll destroy you. You already tried that. Didn't work out so well. This isn't over. Yeah, it is. You just haven't accepted it yet. Security escorted them both out. Tom and Patricia stayed behind, along with the other board members. "Frank," Tom said carefully, "I need to ask, did you know about this earlier? Why didn't you come to us sooner?" I suspected, but I needed proof, and I needed to understand the full scope of the theft before I took action. "How bad is it really?" "Bad. We'll know more after the audit, but we're looking at significant losses." Patricia was still reading through the documents. "This is sophisticated. Glen wasn't just stealing petty cash. He was siphoning money through multiple shell companies. This took planning. Glen always was a planner." "What about Emily?" she asked. "Was she involved?" That was the question I'd been dreading. "I don't know. She was working with Derek and Glen on the retirement package. Whether she knew about the theft," I shrugged. "The audit will tell us. If she was involved, we'll have to take action against her too." "I understand." The meeting broke up around 11. I went back to my office and locked the door again. Then I called Arthur. "It's done. Glen and Derek are suspended. The audit starts Monday." "Excellent. How did Emily react?" "She walked out. I think she finally understands what Derek is." "Good. Let her simmer over the weekend. By Monday, she'll be ready to cooperate." "What if she isn't?" "Then she goes down with them. Frank, you can't save people who don't want to be saved." I knew he was right, but it didn't make it any easier. Margaret came by the office around noon. "I heard. Are you okay?" "I just destroyed my daughter's husband, forced my business partner out, and probably ended my relationship with Emily. So yeah, I'm fantastic." She hugged me, and I let myself lean into her for a moment. "It's not over yet," she said quietly. "The audit could take weeks, and Derek and Glen will fight back. Let them. I have more evidence. Arthur made sure of that." "Arthur." She pulled back and looked at me. "Frank, who is this man really? Why is he helping us?" "I told you. His son." "No. There's more to it. Nobody does this out of gratitude. There's another reason." "Does it matter?" "He's helping us win." "It matters if we're making a deal with someone dangerous." "Margaret, they already tried to destroy me. Arthur's just helping me return the favor. That's what worries me." She left, and I sat there thinking about her words. She was right. Arthur was too skilled at this, too prepared, too willing to bend rules and manipulate people. This wasn't his first time orchestrating something like this. The trial date was set for 3 months out. October. Long enough for both sides to prepare, short enough to keep public interest high. In the meantime, life went on. I ran the business. Margaret went to her book club meetings. Emily filed for divorce from Derek, which surprised no one except maybe Derek himself. She came by the office one day in late July. I was reviewing quarterly reports when Linda buzzed me. "Emily's here. Should I send her in?" "Yeah." Emily looked better than she had in weeks. Still tired, still sad, but more composed. She sat down across from my desk without being invited. "I filed the divorce papers." "I heard." "Good." "Is it?" "Derek's going to prison. Our marriage is over. I have nothing to show for the last 2 years except humiliation." "You have your freedom, and you're not facing criminal charges. That's something." "Dad, why didn't you tell me? About Derek, about the gambling, about everything. If I'd known, would it have made a difference? Would you have believed me?" She thought about it. "Probably not. I was too invested in the idea of us, the perfect couple, taking over the family business together. Derek was good at selling that idea. He was good at a lot of things, lying, manipulating, stealing, everything except actually loving me." She started crying. Real tears, the kind you can't fake. I came around the desk and hugged her, and for a moment we were just father and daughter again. "I'm sorry," she said, "for everything, for believing Derek over you, for trying to force you out, for all of it." "I know. Can you forgive me?" That was the question I'd been avoiding. Could I forgive her? Did I want to? "Eventually," I said. "But not yet. You hurt me, Emily. You tried to destroy me. I need time. How much time? I don't know, however long it takes. She pulled back and wiped her eyes. Okay, I understand. But Dad, I want to earn your trust back. However long it takes, I'll do it. We'll see. She left, and I stood at my window watching her drive away. Margaret came in a few minutes later. I saw Emily leaving. How did it go? She apologized, asked for forgiveness. And I'm not ready to give it. Margaret nodded. That's fair. But Frank, don't wait too long. Grudges are heavy things to carry. August brought more developments. Glen's lawyer tried to get the charges dismissed on technical grounds. The judge rejected the motion. Derek's lawyer negotiated a plea deal, 5 years in federal prison in exchange for full cooperation against Glen. Emily's divorce was finalized on August 15th. She got the house, which Derek had somehow forgotten to mortgage despite his debts. Small victories. The business was recovering. The audit had been completed, showing total losses of $4.7 million. We'd recovered about $2 million from Glen's accounts. The insurance covered another $1 million. The rest was just gone, lost to offshore accounts and clever laundering. But we were stable, profitable even. Turns out, when you stop hemorrhaging money to thieves, businesses tend to do well. Arthur called me in mid-August. Glen's going to trial. His lawyer advised him to take a plea, but he refused. Says he's innocent, that you framed him. He actually believes that? Hard to say. Maybe he's delusional. Maybe it's a Hail Mary strategy. Either way, trial starts in October. Will I have to testify? Probably. The prosecution will want you to establish timeline, explain your relationship with Glen, validate the financial records. Joy. Frank, you've won. Glen's going to prison. Derek's going to prison. Your business is secure. Your daughter is free of a con artist. Why don't you sound happy about it? Because winning feels hollow. I got my revenge, but it cost me my relationship with Emily. It cost me 20 years of friendship with Glen, even if that friendship was fake. It cost me my peace of mind. Would you rather they'd gotten away with it? No, but I don't have to like what I became to stop them. Arthur was quiet for a moment. My son told me you were a good man. That's rare in business. Most successful people are sharks. You were different. Was. Are. You did what you had to do. That doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a survivor. Is there a difference? Yes. But you'll have to figure that out yourself. He hung up. September arrived with cooler weather and a sense of things winding down. The trial was approaching. Derek was scheduled to surrender to federal prison on September 30th. Emily had started working at a marketing firm, staying away from the auto industry entirely. I saw her occasionally. Awkward lunches where we talked about everything except the betrayal, the weather, her new job, Margaret's garden, surface-level conversations that avoided the depth we used to have. One Sunday in late September, she invited Margaret and me to dinner at her new apartment. It was smaller than the house she'd shared with Derek, but it felt more like her. Books on the shelves, plants in the windows, photos of us from when she was younger. Nice place, I said. It's a start, new beginning and all that. We ate pasta that Emily had made herself, and for a while it felt almost normal. Then she brought up the trial. Dad, I know you have to testify, but please, when you do, remember that Derek manipulated both of us. He's not some evil genius. He's just a weak man who made terrible choices. He stole $5 million, Emily. That's not weakness. That's greed. It started as weakness. The gambling, the debts. Then it became greed. But at first, he was just scared and desperate. That doesn't excuse what he did. No. But it explains it. An explanation isn't the same as excuse. I thought about that later, driving home with Margaret. She's right, you know, Margaret said. Derek's not a monster. He's just a man who made terrible choices. Does that matter? For sentencing? Probably not. But for understanding what happened, yeah, it matters. Understanding doesn't change anything. No, but it might help you let go of some of the anger. I didn't want to let go of the anger. The anger was what had kept me going through all of this. The anger was what had given me strength. But maybe Margaret was right. Maybe it was time to let it go. Derek surrendered to federal prison on schedule. No dramatic escape attempt, no last-minute deals. Just a man in an orange jumpsuit being processed into the system. Emily went to say goodbye. I didn't. How was he? I asked when she came by the office afterward. Scared. Sorry, he asked about you. What did he say? That he understood why you did what you did, that he would have done the same thing in your position. Generous of him. He's not all bad, Dad. He did love me, in his own broken way. Love doesn't steal from your wife's family. No, but people are complicated. He can be a thief and still have loved me. Both things can be true. I didn't know how to respond to that. October arrived with fall colors and the start of Glen's trial. Jury selection took a week. The prosecution's case took another week. They presented the financial evidence, called witnesses from the bank, brought in the forensic accountants. I testified on day 9. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Jennifer Walsh, walked me through my history with Glen, how we'd met, how we'd built the business together, how I'd trusted him completely. Then she showed me the evidence, the falsified records, the shell companies, the offshore accounts. When did you first suspect Mr. Richter was stealing from your company? About 6 months ago. Sales were up, but profits were down. Didn't make sense. So I hired an investigator. And what did that investigator find? Evidence of systematic embezzlement, multiple schemes to siphon money from company accounts. How did that make you feel, Mr. Hammond? Glen's lawyer objected. Relevance? The judge overruled. The witness may answer. It made me feel betrayed. Glen was my friend for 20 years. I trusted him with everything, and he used that trust to steal from me. No further questions. Glen's lawyer cross-examined me for 2 hours, trying to paint me as a paranoid micromanager who had manufactured evidence to cover my own mismanagement. I stuck to the facts, kept my cool, and eventually he gave up. Glen testified in his own defense, claimed I'd set him up because I was jealous of his success, claimed the evidence was falsified, claimed Derek had done everything and was framing him to get a better deal. Nobody believed him. The jury deliberated for 6 hours, came back with guilty verdicts on all counts. Glen's face when they read the verdict was something I'll never forget. Complete disbelief, like he couldn't comprehend that he'd actually lost, that his manipulations and schemes had finally caught up to him. Sentencing was set for November. I left the courthouse feeling numb. It was over. I'd won. Glen was going to prison. Derek was already in prison. Emily was safe. The business was secure. So why did I feel so empty? Arthur was waiting outside, leaning against his car. How do you feel? Like I should feel better than I do. That's normal. Revenge isn't as satisfying as people think. You seem to know a lot about revenge. I've lived a long life, Frank. Made a lot of enemies. Destroyed most of them. You know what I learned? What? That winning isn't the same as healing. You destroyed the people who hurt you, but that doesn't fix the hurt. It just means they can't hurt you anymore. So what do I do now? Now, you figure out how to live with what you did, how to rebuild your relationship with Emily, how to move forward. And if I can't? Arthur shrugged. Then you end up like me, successful, secure, and completely alone. He drove away, leaving me standing there in the courthouse parking lot. Margaret picked me up 20 minutes later. How are you? Tired. Want to go home? Yeah. We drove in silence. At home, I poured myself a drink and sat on the porch watching the sunset. Emily called around 8. Dad, I saw the news, the verdict. Yeah. How do you feel? I don't know. Empty, I guess. I'm sorry. I know Glen was your friend. He was never really my friend. Friends don't steal from each other. No, they don't. She paused. Dad, can I come over? I don't want to be alone tonight. Sure. Come over. She arrived half an hour later with a bottle of wine and red eyes from crying. Why are you crying? I asked. Because it's all so sad. Derek in prison, Glen on his way there, our family torn apart, everyone losing. They brought it on themselves. I know, but it's still sad. We sat on the porch drinking wine and not talking much, just being together, which was something we hadn't done in months. Dad, I know you're not ready to forgive me yet, but I want you to know I'm working on being someone worth forgiving. I'm seeing a therapist, learning how to trust my own judgment, figuring out who I am without Derek. That's good. And I want to come back to the business. Not now, not soon, but eventually, when I've proven I can be trusted. We'll see. I know I don't deserve another chance, but I'm asking for one anyway. I looked at my daughter. She'd lost weight since the wedding, had more lines around her eyes, looked older, sadder, but maybe wiser. Ask me again in 6 months. Really? Really? 6 months? Show me you've changed. Show me you've learned. Then we'll talk. She hugged me, and I let her. November brought sentencing. Glen got 18 years. With good behavior, he'd be eligible for parole in 12. He'd be 82 years old. Derek's 5-year sentence felt light by comparison, but he'd cooperated. That had to count for something. The business continued recovering. We posted strong third-quarter numbers, hired new management to replace Glen, restructured our financial oversight to prevent future theft. Emily kept working at her marketing job and going to therapy. We had dinner every Sunday. Slow progress, but progress nonetheless. December arrived with snow and Christmas approaching. Margaret and I decorated the house like always, but it felt different, smaller, like something essential was missing. On Christmas Eve, Emily came over with gifts. We exchanged presents, drank eggnog, and watched old movies. Around 11, she stood up to leave. Thanks for having me, Dad. This meant a lot. Emily, wait. I have something to tell you. She sat back down. I forgive you. I know I said I needed time, and I did. But watching you work to earn back my trust, seeing you rebuild your life, I realized something. You made mistakes. You trusted the wrong person. But you're still my daughter. And I still love you. She started crying. Happy tears this time. Thank you, Dad. You don't know what that means to me. I do know, because you're my kid. And no matter what happens, that doesn't change. She hugged me hard and I held on tight. After she left, Margaret came and sat beside me. I'm proud of you. For what? For letting go. For forgiving her. For choosing family over revenge. I already got my revenge. Glen and Derek are in prison. Exactly. You got what you wanted. Now you can move on. Can I, though? I destroyed people, Margaret. I was ruthless and calculating, and I enjoyed it. You were hurt and angry, and you protected yourself. That's human. Now you're healing and forgiving and rebuilding. That's human, too. What if I'm not done being angry? Then you keep working on it. Every day, a little bit at a time, until one day you wake up and realize the anger is gone. I hope she was right. New Year's came and went. Emily started dating someone new, a teacher named Michael who seemed nice if bland. Margaret and I took a vacation to Florida, our first real break-in over a year. In February, Emily came to my office with a proposal. I want to come back to work here. Not in management, not yet, but in sales. Ground level. I want to learn the business from the bottom up, the way you did. Why? Because I want to understand what you built. I want to appreciate it. And I want to prove I can succeed on my own merit, not just as the boss's daughter. I thought about it. 6 months ago, I would have said no immediately. But now? You'll be treated like every other salesperson, no special treatment, No shortcuts. I understand. And if you screw up, you're fired, family or not. Fair. Then welcome aboard. You start Monday. She smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes. Thanks, Dad. I won't let you down. I know. She didn't let me down. She worked harder than anyone, stayed late, studied inventory, learned financing. 6 months in, she was one of our top sellers. In August, almost exactly a year after the trial, I promoted her to sales manager. You've earned it, I told her. Not because you're my daughter, but because you're good at this. I learned from the best. Life moved forward. Derek served his time quietly. Glen appealed his sentence and lost. The business thrived. Emily and Michael got engaged. In October, 2 years after the wedding that started everything, I got a call from Arthur. How are you doing, Frank? Good. Really good, actually. Glad to hear it. I'm calling to say goodbye. I'm moving to Arizona. Retiring for real this time. Thanks for everything you did. You would have figured it out eventually. I just sped things along. Still, I owe you. You don't owe me anything. Helping you helped me, gave me purpose. Take care of yourself, Arthur. You too, Frank. And Frank, forgive yourself. For what you did, for what you had to do. Forgive yourself and move on. I'm working on it. Good. He hung up, and I never heard from him again. Emily got married in June. Small ceremony, just family and close friends. Michael was a good man, steady and kind. Everything Derek wasn't. I walked her down the aisle, and when the minister asked who gives this woman, I said, her mother and I do, with a clear conscience. At the reception, Emily pulled me aside. Dad, I just want to say thank you for forgiving me another chance, for everything. You're my daughter. Of course I forgave you. Not everyone would have. Derek's dad won't even visit him in prison. Derek's dad didn't build a business for Derek to inherit. He doesn't have the same investment. Is that all I am? An investment? No. You're my daughter. Your family. You're the person I love most in this world, besides your mother. The business stuff is just details. She hugged me, and I thought about how far we'd come. From betrayal to forgiveness, from anger to acceptance, from broken to healing. It wasn't perfect. We still had moments of tension, memories of what had happened. But we were building something new, something better. That night, driving home with Margaret, I felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years. Peace. You're smiling, Margaret said. Am I? First time in a long time. Feels good. What are you thinking about? About how everything worked out. Emily's happy. The business is thriving. Glen and Derek are paying for what they did. Do you still think about them? About what you did? Sometimes, but not as often. And when I do, I don't feel guilty anymore. Why not? Because I did what I had to do. They betrayed me. I stopped them. That's not revenge. That's justice. If you say so. You don't agree? Margaret was quiet for a moment. I think it was both, revenge and justice. But I also think you've earned the right to see it, however lets you sleep at night. Fair enough. We pulled into our driveway, and I saw the house we'd lived in for 30 years. The home where we'd raised Emily, the place where everything had started and nearly ended. But we'd survived. All of us, in our own ways. Emily had Derek's betrayal. I had Glen's friendship lost. Margaret had watched her family nearly destroy itself. But we were still here, still standing, still moving forward. And in the end, that was enough.